Now, this is a very interesting, yesterday we had a tremendous session. The engagement was very, very intense. And today we expect it to be the same, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first up, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Sustainable Brands US for International Partnerships, Daniel Krohn with his opening remarks, and then to talk about SB Brand Transformation Roadmap Toolkit. Join me to welcome on stage, please, Daniel Krohn, ladies and gentlemen.
Good. All right, let's see if I can get this figured out here. Oh, look at that. So I'll just kind of cover what happened yesterday and some of the key learning points from everybody, from the different speakers. Brands and governments and consumers have to work together if we're going to truly implement change. We need to shift from linear thinking to more of a systems thinking approach. As we all know, that things in this world are not linear at all, and they're complicated. So sustainability is not just about risk mitigation, but sustainability can create a multitude of opportunities to innovate and collaborate, for that matter. Sustainability is being embedded in everything from finance and insurance to green factories like Winpro talked about yesterday, and supply chain. During the CEO roundtable yesterday morning with the Minister of the Environment, they talked about plastic. And plastic is not the problem, it's our systems and our infrastructure. We lack it, and we need to fix that problem because plastic will not go away. Purpose and profit are not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand. You can have purpose and make profit. And I would actually encourage that you do have purpose and make profit. So that's just some of the key learning points from yesterday. I thought it was a slate of great speakers that we had, a lot of great information, a lot of very influential people spoke and shared their thoughts and their ideas. So with that being said, I'll kind of move into the brand transformation roadmap that Sustainable Brands has launched this year. I guess it was introduced last year at our flagship event in Vancouver, but it's really starting to pick up momentum. We're having a lot of our corporate members use the tool, do the self-assessment, and kind of gauge where they are in their journey on this road to becoming a sustainable brand. So this process started probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and there's an advisory board within Sustainable Brands. A lot of the corporate members are a part of this, and so they created the Content Council on the advisory board, and you can see my colleague Demeter, who kind of led the effort for Sustainable Brands, Kevin Hagen from Iron Mountain, Virginia Helios, she's the Chief Sustainability Officer for Procter & Gamble, Laura Palomero from Danone, and some of the other ones. I think some of you probably know Sally Urin from Forum for the Future. She's been a speaker here quite a few times at the KL event. So before I get too far into this, I'll kind of talk about the theory of change for sustainable brands. So we believe that business leaders can inspire, or they are inspired, informed, and equipped to succeed. And they will stand out in the business world in this very competitive space by finding win-win solutions to these challenges that we all face, global, environmental, and social challenges. They're effective change agents within their organization, and they can also be a catalyst for systemic change in a very complicated, volatile world. Okay? So remember this theory of change. So a lot of questions were starting to be asked of why is there not more being done in the sustainability space? Why is progress so slow? And Why are we not advancing? Why is this not being embedded in every company? Why do they not get it? So, the advisory council started going to our corporate members, which we have over 100 of them in the US, community members, attendees, service providers. You're talking about tens of thousands of people. And they started just asking this question: what's holding you back? Why is sustainability not picking up more momentum? And so after hundreds of interviews and conversations that have occurred, there were three things that they noticed. One, the first response was, we're lost. We have no idea what we're doing. We don't know what the next steps we need to take. We don't know where we're going. We're just kind of lost. We need new partners. We can't find the right ones. There's so much going on. It's complicated. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they can help me. But I know I need to collaborate. And my all-time favorite, and we always kind of chuckle about this, is, you know what? We got this all figured out. We're doing enough. We don't need anybody's help, which is kind of a joke because, well, we all know that this world is full of lots of problems and challenges, and we all need help, whether we think we don't or not. So, with that being said, after these conversations, we go back to the theory of change. So, how do we equip these business leaders, to create these collaboratory opportunities, to be innovative, to be catalysts for change, to be change agents within their organizations? Oh, I guess I should have kept going through these. I'll cover those a little bit. When we talked about we're lost, collaborating, I talked about it, making the business case, looking for the right partners. The one that was interesting was the validation, which that occurs quite a lot in the corporate membership network. A lot of people are sharing new ideas, what they're working on, and so you have the opportunity to ask a lot of those questions. So I was a little bit surprised that this was one of those responses. We're doing enough. The stakeholder issue is quite interesting because either those stakeholders don't have the level of knowledge and depth that they need to, they're not equipped to ask the right questions, or they're probably just lying to you and nodding yes when you say something, which is not helpful at all. So, after all of this, we decided that the best path forward was to create the brand transformation roadmap. This is how we felt, based on our community's conversations and feedback, that we could help these business leaders move forward and advance sustainability at an accelerated rate. So it's a practical new orientation and navigation tool. It's comprehensive, yet user-friendly. So that means it's intuitive when you're going through it. It's easy for you to understand if you're at the beginning of this journey and you're learning about sustainability, or if you're far more down this path and your level of knowledge and depth on sustainability is far more advanced. It also can be used as a tool for you to engage internally and externally with stakeholders. So you can tell them where you are and what you're working on based on this roadmap, and you can have an intelligent conversation with them that you will be able to relate with on different levels. So, if you were to give an elevator pitch to someone about the brand transformation roadmap, orientation navigation tool that maps out your journey from business as usual to being a sustainable brand, someone that is a catalyst for change. It shows you where you are in this journey. It helps you have the conversation with executives at higher levels within organizations. It gives you the recommended next steps, partners that you can collaborate with that will help you in your journey. It helps you engage and unite different parts of your company in a common purpose. It helps you set goals, priorities in all these, and serves as a common bond within your organization. So, as this tool was being developed and the conversations were being had at the Content Council, 5 characteristics of a sustainable brand. A sustainable brand is transparent and is proactive in its governance. They are not waiting. This is not risk management. They see the opportunities. And they're telling you about it, and they're letting you in to see where you're going and why you're doing it. You have net positive products and services. You're doing less harm, more good. You're transitioning or shifting from I'm doing a lot of bad and a tiny bit of good to I'm doing more good and less bad. You're having a net positive shift in your products and services. Your operations and supply chain are regenerative. You're having an impact on other organizations. Circular thinking, systems thinking. You have positive social or environmental purpose, or both. I don't think you have to have one or the other. But you have purpose, and it's focused on a more sustainable world. And that could be your communities, your employees, that could be the environment in which you operate, the natural resources you rely on as a business. And you use your brand for system-wide change. Your brand, a Procter & Gamble, a BASF, a Unilever, some of the most well-known brands in the world, they are using their brand, their recognition of their logo, their power of influence with consumers to shift the systems. These are the 5 characteristics of a sustainable brand. So, how many sustainable brands are there in the world? Anybody? You can yell it. Go ahead. Although the answer's already up there. That's not really fair. So, there are none. There really aren't. If you think you are, you're lying to yourself and everybody else. So, none of us are there yet. It's a journey. We have a long way to go. So, as you can see in this beautiful little slide here, there are the 5 different levels of this journey towards conventional. I'm just doing the basic required things by law. I am compliant. I'm doing the bare minimum. Pretty much everybody starts here. If you're not at level 1, well then I'm a little scared because you're probably doing some really bad things and you're not in compliance, and that's sort of scary. 2, you're just getting started. You've heard about sustainability. Some of you new here. This is your first exposure to it. You don't really know what it is, but you've heard tidbits here and there. If I change my lights, energy efficiency, plastic. I know plastic's a problem. I probably shouldn't use those plastic straws. You're just getting started. You're trying to figure out who you are, your purpose, and where you're going. And this happens in all businesses. When I worked for a company in the US, an agriculture company, this is where we started. We're at level 1. We had no idea what sustainability was. I started reading about it. We started learning about it. We moved to level 2. Our depth, our knowledge started to grow. Our understanding of our needs and the risks and the opportunities started to come to light. Level 3, you're starting to gain some traction, right? You are beginning to find ways to develop a strategy. You're trying to structure things. You're having conversations with your colleagues within. You've attended a Sustainable Brands Conference. You've made some great connections. But you still got a long way to go. But it's promising, okay? And, you know, it's still kind of choppy. You've accounted for your greenhouse gases. You've saved some money in energy efficiency. You know, you could probably do some stuff on the social end of, sustainability. Maybe start having conversations with HR, looking at your local communities where you operate. But it's still it's not fully embedded. There's not the buy-in company-wide. You're still kind of in your little silo of sustainability. You're not really working that closely with marketing. You're not working that closely with the supply chain people. So you're doing less bad, so you're making progress. Level 4, you're an emerging leader. You've got your executives, your high-level management to start to support this. They are starting to see the value. Whether that's from your influence as an internal change agent, or if that's because they've started to hear it from their shareholders. It could be a lot of different things, but they're starting to see it, and they're starting to understand that this isn't just about a stake at the table. This is about an opportunity to collaborate and to innovate and to continue to be relevant and competitive in the changing world. It's becoming more embedded, so sustainability is now considered in strategic decisions, right? You're starting to work cross-department. You as the sustainability professional, you're starting to work with the marketing department, supply chain, operations, everybody, finance. Finance is always the hardest one, I think, to have that conversation with, because they're always the last one. They're always the most skeptical. This is just going to cost more. Well, it doesn't have to. So, and you externally are being viewed as a leader. People are coming to you and seeing you in a different light. They realize that, hey, they kind of have it figured out. Look at them. Maybe we should model what we're doing. And level 5, you are a sustainable brand. You've embedded it across everything. Sustainability is your purpose, and you're profiting from it. You're using that as a tool to be innovative and creative. You're leading in your different market sectors. You're developing new products and services around sustainability. It's embedded in everything you do. Now, the real question is, can anybody ever really, truly be a sustainable brand? Is this a journey or is this a destination? Do we reach the mountaintop, the top of Mount Everest? Do we all get there? Now, this is internally debated, and it's kind of fun to have this conversation. But I don't believe that there is a top of the mountain. There isn't, because as we continue to progress and learn, we realize that there are things that are deeper and deeper and deeper. There is always more we can do as a sustainable brand. Always. There will be new challenges. There will be new information. What we thought was great and more sustainable, we learned that, well, it's not quite what it was. We need to adapt. We need to change. So this is a journey. This is not a destination. And it is a continuous journey that will probably go on to the end of time. And hopefully not the end of the earth because of climate change. Here's another visual representation of kind of this journey from a level 1, a compliant organization, to a sustainable brand. I kind of relate it to a product life cycle. You start at the very beginning. It's new to the market. It's growing like crazy. Revenue's shooting up 70% a year because of this new product. But it starts to slow down. Competitors come in. They launch their own version. And it starts to plateau and decline. It's the same thing. When you are making changes within your organization and you're advancing your sustainability journey, new things that come in accelerate, but then they kind of become stale and stagnant and not so shiny. And so you have to continue to innovate. You have to continue to push forward. And then you can take that next step, that next breakthrough within your organization. 5x5 matrix kind of tells you where you sit when you take the self-assessment tool. So on purpose, if I were to go back and think about the company I used to work for and our sustainability program, in the beginning, level 1 across the board. We didn't know who we were, what we were doing. But we knew we needed to do something. By the end, purpose, I would say we were probably a 3. We are a business-to-business organization. We weren't a business-to-consumer. Brand influence, we were becoming an emerging leader, some of our thought leadership and what we were doing. Operations and supply chain, I would definitely say we were a 4. Some of the things that we were doing were quite advanced at the time. And just bear with me, guys, this was 10, 12 years ago. Products and services, definitely a 4. We're a biologicals agriculture company. The products that we made and we utilized to feed the world were naturally occurring. Sustainability was just built into our products and the nature of them. Governance, probably a level 3. But as you can see, I did that for 10 years, and we were nowhere near being a sustainable brand. Our journey had a long way to go. It's the same thing for everybody. And I won't cover the next 5 slides in great detail. I did think that we were going to have this as a printout, but you can find this level of detail, I believe, on the website, Brand Transformation Roadmap, Sustainable Brands. And it gives you a little more depth into the 5 different characteristics of a sustainable brand. And if this was a workshop, we would probably take about 30 minutes, and you would sit there and think about where you are in this journey, in this roadmap as an organization. And then we would have a deeper conversation about it. But we don't have time for that. Sorry, guys. We can talk about it later. So, how do I use the transformation roadmap? Why am I using it? See the whole journey and where you are. It gives you an idea of the starting point and where you need to go. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's why I want to use it, because it's going to guide me. It's going to be a communications tool. It's going to be that common bond. It allows me to engage with my internal colleagues and my external. And it helps me to kind of start breaking down those barriers that we all kind of face in our organizations. As much as we would like to think we are open and we don't have those roadblocks and those walls built, we all do. I haven't met an organization that doesn't, somewhere, somehow. Externally, it allows you to engage with your shareholders, your stakeholders, your community. It allows you to tell them your story and where you are in this journey and provide context. It allows you to find the right organizations and people to network with and collaborate with. Because you cannot do this alone. None of us can. We have to do this together. And if we don't, we will all fail. This isn't about my company versus your company, my country versus your country, me versus you. It can't be that way. We will never get anywhere. We will not make the necessary changes in system shift if we do not collaborate. So this tool will help you find and guide you into finding those right partners. It allows you to set goals and to use this as a tool to start to spark some innovation, some innovative thinking, some innovative conversations internally and externally in your company. So, what is part of the whole brand transformation roadmap, the package? You have the core roadmap framework. So, kind of what we talked about today. I showed you some of the slides, I showed you the 5 different characteristics, some of the detail. That just kind of gives you an overview of the framework. Now, The self-assessment tool, which is online, that you have to be a corporate member, you get access to it, or you work with some of our affiliates. So, May, go talk to May. That's what I would say. As you go through the self-assessment part of this package, it gives you guidance, what steps need to be taken, tools, resources, and eventually, as this community, this tool is utilized more by our corporate members and by you guys, benchmarking, understanding where I stand either in my region or where I stand in the world. How do I compare in this journey? So the next few slides will kind of give you an idea of what the tool looks like when you log in. So this is the self-assessment tool. This is your little login page. It's very kind of standard. Nothing fancy, I guess. When you get in and you do the self-assessment, it will give you a graph and tell you where you are at the different levels. Now, this is a self-assessment. Be as honest with yourself and critical as you can. Do not try to make it look better than it is, because it's not going to do you any good, because you know the truth. Use this as an honest self-assessment tool, because nobody else cares. I don't care if you're a level 4. You should care if you're a level 4. If you're truly a level 3, don't try to make it look like a level 4. Be honest. And you can see everybody shows up differently. Different industries, different organizations, different places in the journey, different priorities. Some organizations are more focused on the brand and the marketing, the consumer engagement. Others are more focused on products and services and supply chain. I know a really great tool for that. Martin's got a great tool, Future Fit. If you're really focused on the operational management stuff, that is a nice pairing with this tool. This is an idea of the corporate members that have taken self-assessment. It's kind of interesting to look at this graph. So the blue is the purpose. A lot of them kind of feel like they have that figured out, right? It's between a 3 and a 4. That's really pretty good. Most organizations, brand influence, operations, governance is probably around a 3. The real struggle, products and services, because that's the hard work, the supply chain. Takes longer to change those systems, collect that data, understand what that data means, find the right collaborators, the right resources, do the research and development, understand what do I need to change, life cycle assessment. It's a lot more difficult, a lot more time consuming, and it takes longer. With that being said, that is the brand transformation roadmap. Now, this tool will become available to all of our international affiliates starting in 2020, so in a few months. You'll be able to have access to this and work with our local affiliates. May, I'm sorry I keep throwing you under the bus, but bother her. I would love to do it myself, but unfortunately I'm very, very far away. But I'm always available for questions if needed. With that, the brand transformation roadmap. I hope you guys use it. I hope it's useful. I think it'll be a great guide for all of you, whether you're just starting this journey or you're far more advanced. And if you have questions, roadmap@sustainablebrands.com. You can come up to me afterwards and we can talk about this more. Happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Daniel, hang on. We've got a couple of questions for you for Slido.
Man.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that I didn't want to take questions. All right. Is there any initiatives to list out the top 30% brands which are most unsustainable, create most carbon footprint, and get them on board to be sustainable? Is it worthwhile to pursue a sustainable brand goal for a particular brand from the complete portfolio of brands of the company? Holy moly. Guys, see, this is why I didn't want to take questions. I got to think about this stuff, and nobody wants to watch me stand here and think. 30% of brands that are most unsustainable. You know, there are a lot of tools out there that, at least in the US anyway, and probably Europe, that can give you an idea. When we're evaluating potential corporate members, we always do our due diligence, basically. And we understand what their impacts. We look for information that maybe isn't always publicly available. We try and understand, are they serious about that? So yes, there are initiatives, there are tools that are out there that will tell you, probably give you an honest assessment of where companies are that are either trying to greenwash or are actually serious in doing things. I hope that answers the question. Is it worthwhile to pursue sustainable brand goals for a particular brand? So I think what you're asking is, does it make sense if we're a subsidiary of a larger organization? Does it make sense to pursue this? Absolutely. I think that if you're a subsidiary of a much larger umbrella corporation and you have the opportunity to do this, you can be that change agent. You can be that catalyst internally. You can use this tool internally to demonstrate to your other sub-brands and even the higher level umbrella brand of what can be done, the possibilities. So yes, it's always worth it. Any other questions?
I think that's it for now.
I think I scared him off, didn't I?
Thank you so much. Give it up for Daniel Krohn, ladies and gentlemen. Now, up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite ICLIF Chief Marketing Officer to talk on leadership for sustainability in the digital era. Please welcome Lalit Gupta.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning. One more time. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Sustainability, global warming, climate change, the narrative around this has been around for a long, long time. It's been going on for years. Al Gore, the former US Vice President, he talked about an inconvenient truth, and that was in 2006. That was 13 years ago. And then Greta Thunberg spoke at UN conference in New York just about 10 days ago. And she was addressing the world leaders when she said, "How dare you?" She said, "How dare you make empty promises? How dare you not take action when you know what needs to be done?" Sustainability is one of the biggest challenges of our generation and our century. But at the same time, it is probably one of the biggest opportunities for our generation and our century. I think there is enough awareness, there is enough evidence, and there is enough understanding of what needs to be done. I think there's a roadmap that Daniel just shared, so everybody knows what needs to be done. But there's not enough impact. There's not enough output. There's not enough action. And the question is, why? Why do we think there is not enough action or there's not enough impact of the things that need to be done? And we believe that it has to do with leadership. And that's what I'm going to be talking about over the next 20 minutes. Leadership for sustainability in digital era. Let me just give a quick context of digital era. I know everybody's aware of what's happening in the digital era. In digital era, everything and everyone is connected. So this uber connectivity and emerging technologies are obliterating business models faster than ever before. The way people interact, the way they engage, the way they communicate, the way they interact with each other has changed dramatically just in the last 5 to 10 years. But the leadership has not. So at ICLIF, we conducted a global research across 28 countries to look at how leadership needs to change. And that global research then culminated into a bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller called Open Source Leadership. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today in the next 15 to 20 minutes in terms of how leadership needs to change for sustainability in digital era. Our contention is that $80 billion is spent every year on leadership development globally. But if you ask any CEO of any company, of any organization, he or she will tell you that the biggest challenge that they're facing is lack of good leadership talent in their company, in their industry, and in the marketplace. $80 billion. And the biggest challenge is lack of good leadership talent in their industry and in their organization. One of the questions that we've been asking our participants in our workshops, in the conferences like this, is, of all the bosses that you have ever worked for, from the time you started working until today, all the bosses that you have worked for, from the time you started working until today, how many of them would you rate as truly great leaders? Do you know what the median answer is? The answer is somewhere between 0, 1, or 2. There are very few where it is 3 or above. $80 billion, and the answer is 0, 1, or 2. Now, if I were to ask this question differently, let's say if I were to ask this question to somebody in your team, one of your subordinates, do you think you will be part of that 1 or 2? Don't answer that question. Keep it to yourself. We'll try and answer this by end of this session. So why is the picture of good leadership so bad? And the reason we believe is that we have misunderstood leadership for the longest time. So these are the areas where we believe we have misunderstood leadership. Number one, we have always confused followership with leadership. Now that sounds strange, but let me try and explain. How many of you are parents that you have children of your own, right? Don't we love it when our kids listen and obey? And what happens when they don't listen and don't obey? We whack them into submission, right? So from the childhood, the kid knows that there is a bigger authority out there that if you listen to, you will get rewarded. So rewarding followership over time. Now, what happens when this kid starts going to school? Who do you think are teachers' pets? Who are teachers' pets? These are the students who do exactly what they're told in the class. And the one who does it best is made the class monitor, right? Again, rewarding followership for leadership. Now, fast forward. Let's say you become a CEO of a large organization. And you believe that, okay, now I'm a big honcho, I can do everything that I want. You come up with this bold, audacious, new strategy, new plan to take your organization to the next level. And you take that plan to the board. What do you think the first question that the board will ask you? The board will ask you, show me that McKinsey report that shows that 5 best practice companies have already done this. If that's true, here's the money, go ahead and do it. But if it is not, do some more research and come back with some more results. Best practice is another word for followership. It may have worked in 80s and 90s, but today, in the age of speed and breakneck change, best practice is not good enough. You need to go for next practice. That is what is required today. The second myth is we have always confused authority with leadership. As soon as somebody gets elected to the prime minister or the president of a country, we call him the leader of the country. As soon as somebody gets promoted to the position of a CEO of a company, we call him the leader of the company, right? If we look at the 3 of the greatest leadership examples of 20th century across the globe, they would be Mahatma Gandhi in Asia, Nelson Mandela in Africa, and Martin Luther King Jr. in US. What did these people not have for most of their life? They had no title, position, or power. So what do you think is the relationship between authority and leadership? Absolutely zilch, and we'll talk more about that in a short while. The third is leaders are born, not made. There is no evidence that shows that leaders are born. Leaders come in all shapes and sizes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a short while. This is where most of that $80 billion is spent, that leadership can be taught through competency models, psychometric tests, case studies, and role plays. The basic premise here is that if you look at the leaders of 80s and 90s, you figure out what competencies they exhibited, what kind of psychometric traits they showed, teach them to the next generation, and you create the leaders of tomorrow. Again, it's an act of followership. It may have worked 10, 20 years ago, but today, with the kind of change that we are experiencing, the competencies that made you successful 10 years ago, what is the guarantee that those are the competencies that you need in 10 years' time for you to be successful? So we need to relook at leadership. So none of this is leadership. So we've got to look at leadership differently. We need to redefine what leadership is all about. So what is truly great leadership all about? Let's look at some of the great leaders and see if we can learn from them what truly great leadership is all about. Nelson Mandela, he was in jail for 27 years, and he did not give up on his vision to create a rainbow nation in South Africa. What makes Nelson Mandela not give up after 27 years in prison? If we can understand that, we will probably get a glimpse into what truly great leadership is all about. The second here is Soichiro Honda. Soichiro Honda, he invented piston ring engine. And he was so passionate about his invention that he spent his own money to create the factory to manufacture piston ring engines. His factory got destroyed, got bombed during the World War II. He rebuilt the factory. It got bombed again during World War II. Then he had to pawn his wife's jewelry and everything that he owned to build the factory again the third time. And this time, it got destroyed by an earthquake. And he still didn't give up. What makes Soichiro Honda not give up after his factory gets destroyed 3 times? We will probably get a glimpse into what a truly great leadership is all about. Howard Schultz of Starbucks, when he wanted to buy out this coffee bean company, he needed $5 million US, and he didn't have any money. So he went to different lenders, and he got rejected 230 times. After 230 insultful rejects, he didn't give up. And then he got the money and he created Starbucks, what it is today, a global brand. What makes Howard Schultz not give up? What would you do after 100 rejects? Or for that matter, 20 rejects or 10 rejects? So the question here is, what is it that these guys trying to do? What is Mandela trying to do? What is Honda trying to do? What is Gandhi trying to do? Or what are all these leaders trying to do? Jack Ma, Steve Jobs, are these guys just trying to be famous? Are these guys just trying to make money? Or is there something more to what these guys are trying to do? What are these guys trying to do? Would it be fair to say that these guys are trying to create a change? Yeah? Would it be fair to say that they're trying to create a tomorrow that is better than today? That they're trying to create a better future? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is our definition of leadership. Leadership is not about title, position, or power. It's not about competency models. It is about creating a better future. It does not start by winning an election. It does not start by being promoted to the position of a CEO. It starts when, as a leader, you close your eyes and clearly see the vision of that better future that is so compelling that you cannot sleep. People say there are two types of dreams. The real dreams are not when you sleep. The real dreams are that keep you from sleeping. That is what leadership is all about. It is about having that burning desire to create a better future. Now, there's something seriously wrong with this statement when I say it is about creating a better future. Let me explain. What happens when you try to create a better future, or for that matter, any kind of a change? When you're trying to create any kind of a change, what happens? What do you get from people around you? What do you receive? Resistance. You get active resistance, passive resistance. They'll tell you all the reasons why it won't work. The difference between leaders and non-leaders is just this, that leaders don't give up. If resistance is leaders' constant companion, and if leaders don't give up, what is it that leaders need to have a lot of or turn off within themselves? What is it that they need to not give up? What do they need a lot of? Sorry? Purpose. Yes, absolutely. Tenacity, resilience, belief, patience. If I were to take an editorial license, I would like to combine all these words and use the word leadership energy. And that completes our definition of leadership. Leadership is about harnessing human energy towards the creation of a better future. It is not about title, position, or power. It is not about competency models. It is about not giving up. And that is what leadership is all about. We earlier talked about whether leaders are born or not. Leader in you is born the day you are able to create that image, that compelling image of that better future that you want to create. So leaders are not born, but leader in you is born when you decide to do something about that. So leadership is the art of harnessing human energy towards the creation of a better future. Leaders don't give up in the face of resistance because they're able to find their own source of leadership energy. Navy SEALs are some of the most elite of the defense forces. Somebody asked one of the Navy SEAL commander, he said, how do you pick the right people for Navy SEALs? And he said, we are not looking for the strongest of the lot. We are not looking for the brightest of the lot. We are looking for the people who, after they are physically and mentally spent, exhausted, they are able to dig deep and find energy to save themselves and their teams. This is the leadership energy that he's talking about. Leaders have sources of leadership energy that are identified, that they're able to dig deep and find that source of leadership energy to not give up in the face of overwhelming odds, in the face of resistance. So what are the sources of this leadership energy? There are three sources that we typically talk about. One is deep, deep, deep clarity about your values. That determines who you are. And then it is about a purpose that is based on those values. And if the purpose is based on the values and larger than yourself, it becomes a fearless purpose. The third source of leadership energy is what is mindfulness, or the power of the mind. Because when it's about giving up, you first give up in your mind before you give up physically or psychologically. Typically, we spend 2-3 days taking people through the depths of self-reflection to figure out who they are, what they want, and the power of the mind. So what is leadership? So leadership is about leadership energy, about finding the source of your leadership energy. It is about not giving up. And there are no competency models for not giving up. It is about reflection before action. It's about why before what. Dr. Martin Luther King, he said, I have a dream. He didn't say, I have a plan. It's why before what. Emotional integrity before emotional intelligence. Now, there's a lot of leadership literature around emotional intelligence. EQ is better than IQ. Leaders need to have a lot of EQ, et cetera. And we agree with that. I think EQ is an essential skill for people to have to be a good leader. But it is still an on-the-surface skill. If you think about it, emotional intelligence, basically there are two parts to it. One is to be able to understand your own emotions and to be able to manage them intelligently. The second part is to be able to understand other people's emotions and to be able to manage them intelligently. But it is still an on-the-surface skill. Whereas emotional integrity is about having the courage to look into the mirror and to be able to say, this is what I want for myself. Having the courage to look into the mirror and to be able to say, this is what I want for myself. I don't care what the society thinks. I don't care what my family thinks. Do you know who we are most dishonest with? With ourselves. Emotional integrity is about being honest to yourself. It is not, there are no rights or wrongs. It's only honest or dishonest conversation. So emotional integrity comes before emotional intelligence if you're talking about authentic leadership that's based on values and purpose. So the question that I have for you is, are you simply living or leading your life? What is the better future that you're trying to create? Are you trying to figure out for yourself, who am I and what am I doing in this world? Once a journalist asked Mahatma Gandhi, what is your message to the world? And Gandhi said, my life is my message. So the question is, what is your message to the world, to your kids, to your employees, to your people? There was a study that was conducted by Harvard which tried to find a correlation between the leaders who are rated high on character and the return on business. Business success and rated high on character. Is there a correlation? And they found there was a solid correlation between the two, and they said the leaders that were rated high on character, they delivered almost 6 times the return on asset compared to the others. And when we talk about high on character, these were the characteristics: integrity, responsibility, compassion, and forgiveness. Now, integrity and responsibility is understandable. Forgiveness and compassion. So leaders who rate high on these characteristics, they deliver higher returns on assets for their organizations. Pure business success. We look at leadership at 2 levels. One is at the individual level. How do we energize ourselves? How do we find the source of our own leadership energy? We talked about values, purpose, and mindfulness, right? Then for the organization, so once you have energized yourself, how do you energize the whole enterprise? The people that you lead as a leader, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 people, the people that you're not even in regular touch with. So we believe there are three sources of leadership energy for an organization. It is called brains, bones, and nerves. Brains is the vision, mission, and strategy of the organization. Bones is the people, structure, and processes. Nerves is the culture of the organization. It is basically organization purpose, organization architecture, and organization culture. Again, it boils down to the values and purpose at the organization level. About 10 to 20 years ago, it was okay for people to focus on profits or shareholders' returns. I think the objective of all the organizations was to maximize shareholders' value. We believe that that is not true anymore. We need to focus on purpose before we focus on the profit. So Daniel earlier talked about that purpose and profit need to go hand in hand. We don't agree with that. We believe that purpose needs to come before profit, and profit will follow. And there's a solid evidence to support that. There was a Forbes report that was published about 6 to 9 months ago, which showed that the Fortune 500 companies that rated high on ESG, the environment, society, and governance, they delivered higher returns compared to the average Fortune 500. And similarly, the organizations that rated low on ESG, they delivered much lower returns compared to the average return of S&P 500. So there is evidence today to show that the purpose needs to come before profit, and the profit will follow. Today, organizations are leading intergenerational workforce. The millennials, they're looking for purpose more than money. You got to show them the purpose. You got to show the purpose is at the heart of what you do. So organizations today need to do good and make money by doing good rather than make money and do some good on the sidelines as CSR. So the organizations more and more are moving towards that. So the question is your organization simply living or leading? What is the better future that your organization is trying to create? What is the better future? What is the purpose that you're driving through your employees and through your customers? So I'm just going to end this session by saying leadership based on values and purpose at individual and at enterprise level is required for sustainability in digital era. Let me just end this by making this small story. There's this Australian nurse who used to take care of patients in the palliative care unit in Australia. Now, palliative care is where the patients are suffering from some terminal disease, and they have a few months to go. So she used to spend a lot of time with these patients and talk to them about their lives and their thinking. At the end of it, she wrote this book called Top 5 Regrets of Dying. And guess what the top regret was? I wish I could respond to more WhatsApp messages. No. The top regret was, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me, not what society wanted me to do. And look at the last one. That's my favorite. I wish I had let myself be happier. It's not, I wish I had been happier. I wish I had let myself be happier. It's all about aligning your life with who you are. It's all about figuring out for yourself, who am I and what am I doing in this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, here are the questions. Go ahead.
Okay, the first question is, in time lacking of leaders to champion the sustainability agenda, what is your move to move the agenda forward for a better future? So at ICLIF, we have been trying to promote this idea of leadership, idea of authentic leadership, which is based on values and purpose. And the objective there is for people to understand that it is not just for yourself. It also translates into better profitability and better business returns for your organization. There is a huge amount of research to show that leaders that do well on character, we talked about compassion, forgiveness, they're also the ones who are delivering higher business returns. So we need to get away from the traditional notions of leadership and move into the true leadership agenda, which is around values and purpose at personal as well as at the enterprise level. And I think a sustainability agenda will be put forward. As Daniel was saying, there is enough evidence, there is enough understanding of what needs to be done. It's the question of leadership. We need to just take it on and move forward. That's what Greta was saying. You know, how can you not see what's coming? It is just silly for people to not do that. So we want people to see that. Since leaders are not born, what's your opinion on developing leaders with a self-awareness? Come and attend my program on mindful leadership. Thank you very much.
Lalit Gupta, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Marketing Officer, ICLIF. Now, let's move on very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker is from the Dow Chemical Company, Asia Pacific Sustainability Leader on Packaging and Specialty Plastics. Today we're going to touch a little bit more on plastics, and to talk to us about plastics for a circular world. Recently, the word circular has been floating around the sustainability community, and here's the man who's going to talk a little bit about more to give you a deeper insight into it. Please join me to welcome Dr. Zhang.
Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. Some of you may know Dow. We are one of the largest petrochemical company in the world and also one of the largest producer of polyethylene resin. But many of you may not know or may not even want to believe we take sustainability very seriously. For example, we have been named on the Dow Jones Sustainability World Index 20 times. We won 11th Green Chemistry Award, more than double than any other company. And just recently, we have been named as a company changed the world by Fortune magazine. This is because of one of the projects I'm going to talk about during my presentation. So we started our sustainability journey back in 1995. We started our first 10-year sustainability goals during that time. And we invested $1 billion into all of those sustainability programs, and we got $5 billion in return. Now we are in the third generation of our sustainability goals. And one of the 7 sustainability goals, we call it circular economy. And this is very, very relevant to my topic today, and it's very relevant to plastic business. As one of the world's largest plastic producer, if we cannot make plastic sustainable, we cannot claim we achieve our sustainability goals. And plastic itself is a very good material, as long as you keep it out of the environment. And in fact, we shouldn't throw plastic into the environment because it's too valuable to be wasted. And if we can extract the value from plastic waste, then definitely plastic can be a part of a circular economy. However, this is very difficult. It's very challenging. I think yesterday, if you attend yesterday's panel discussion, we talked about the complexity of a plastic circular economy, why it's so difficult. And as our CEO mentioned, plastic waste is one of the most important sustainability issues of our time. And to solve this problem, there is no single solution, or you call it a silver bullet. It requires a huge investment, improve waste management infrastructure, innovation in recycling technology, and also develop a new end market for those plastic waste. But we still have hope. If we work together, we can create a circular world for plastic. And we have to, well, this is a complex problem, but we have to start from somewhere. And in order to achieve our vision, this year we started a new plastic sustainability strategy. When people think of plastic packaging, they're thinking about they're not thinking about the convenience, food safety, or other systemic benefit. They're thinking about the sea turtles, plastic waste cover the beach, and other negative perception. And this perception is very valid, and it's not acceptable. We have to take action and change the situation. So our three-pillar strategy will guide us to the right direction. So we will work to keep plastic out of the environment, and we will deliver circular economy solutions. And also, we will increase impact through partnership. And in the next few slides, well, I will explain the detail for each individual pillar and also give you some examples like the projects we are doing, particularly in Asia Pacific. So first, we will work to keep plastic out of the environment. This requires two parts. One is cleanup. There are plastic already in the natural environment. As a company, we have to take our responsibility to do a proper cleanup. But the cleanup is not enough. If you think about if you have a water leakage at your home, what should you do? If you keep wiping your floor, it won't solve the problem. First, you need to stop the leakage. And this is the same for plastic waste. We have to stop the leakage. We have to do proper prevention. This will include improve waste management infrastructure and get all the plastic waste collected back to the system. So first, let's talk about the cleanup. Dow is a sponsor for the Ocean Conservancy over the past 30 years, and we partner with them on the international coastal cleanup. Last year, we make it even bigger, and we mobilize our entire employee workforce to volunteer for this international cleanup. And as I said, the cleanup won't solve the problem, but this is a great way to raise awareness and also engage others, our partners, our customers, brand, and general consumer to join this initiative and take a proper responsibility. So last year, over 5,000 employees joined this initiative, and during 2 hours cleanup, we collected more than 52,000 pounds of plastic waste. And this year, we have an even more aggressive goal. We want to double our cleanup events and also collect more waste out of the beach. But as I said, cleanup is not enough. We have to prevent the leakage. And that's why we need to improve waste management infrastructure. If you look at the plastic waste issue or marine debris issue, we all know 5 Asia countries accounts for 50 or 60% of global marine debris. And if you visit those countries, you will realize many of those countries, they don't even have a waste management system. And Indonesia is one of the examples. And that's why we start a program called Masaro. In Bahasa, Masaro means zero waste management. And we started in a remote village. When I first visited that village, they don't even have any waste management infrastructure. People just throw all the waste near a river, and once they have enough waste, they just burn the waste and wait until the rain season. The rain will wash all the waste into the river. And you will see kids playing in the river, and local people use the river water for living. And this is really unacceptable. And I still remember I saw a new house construction. And when people dig out the dirt, build the foundation for that house, I see layers of plastic waste. So basically, people are building their next generation home on top of plastic waste. And this is unacceptable, and we cannot allow our next generation living on top of our waste. So we partner with a local university to launch this Masaro program. This including the education. First, we teach the local people, the villagers, and also students how to separate the organic waste, recyclable waste, and other waste. And then we set up a proper collection system. Here you can see it's a 4-bin system, one for organic waste, one for recyclable, one for hard to recycle flexible packaging material, and another for the residual waste like wood chips or leaves. And then we use a technology to turn organic waste into fertilizer. It's similar to composting, and the fertilizer can be used by villagers to grow crops. And for recyclable, of course, we connect them with a local recycler and sell it on the market so that it can generate additional revenue to the local people. And for those hard to recycle plastic, we partner with that university to develop a very basic pyrolysis unit to turn those flexible packaging material into diesel, so the local people can use a diesel to power their motorcycle or used for cooking, to burn, to generate heat. And then for the residual waste, there's still some portion of residual waste that will be sent to landfill, but some of them can even be used for combustion purpose to generate heat to power the pyrolysis unit. And this is just the first start of this kind of a program. It's not perfect, and we're still exploring how can we truly achieve a zero waste vision in a remote village. And once we understand how we can do this, we will promote it across Indonesia and have more people to adopt the best practice. Well, we do clean up, we do prevention, but one logical question many people will ask, hey, once you collect the plastic waste, what are you going to do with that? In that remote village, we do composting, we do recycling, and we turn some hard to recycle plastic waste into diesel for transportation use. But we need to explore additional new end-use market for plastic waste. Traditionally, once people collect the plastic waste, they recycle it to like a low-end trash bag or recycle it to some toys, but there is only limited market for those products. In order to address this plastic waste issue and create a value out of those plastic waste, we need to explore additional end-use market so that more people will use those plastic waste. And this is one of the exploration. We call it improving roads with recycled plastic. And because of this project, we were named on the Fortune's Company Change Award list, as I mentioned earlier. So basically, we mix hard to recycle flexible packaging material. After we sort them, clean them, process them, we mix it with bitumen and gravel to make an asphalt road. And the current research shows by doing this, we can extend the service life of a road. This will lead to lower greenhouse gas emissions as well as energy consumption, and also save bitumen, which is also part of the fossil fuel feedstock. So we first piloted the project in Indonesia, and then we scaled it up in India, built a 40-kilometer road using about, I think, 100 metric tons of plastic waste. And 100 metric tons may sound very small if you think about how much plastic we produce on a daily basis. 100 metric tons is really small. But if you think about a flexible packaging material, like a candy bar wrapper, potato chips bag, they're very light. 100 metric tons equivalent to I think 25 million pieces of those candy bar wrapper, potato chips bag. And because this program, this 25 million pieces of flexible packaging material no longer end up in the natural environment or on the beach or in the ocean, we find a valuable way to use them to extend the service life of the road. And while those programs are important, but in order to fundamentally solve the plastic waste, we need to deliver circular economy solutions. This really requires a lot of innovation. And as a material science company, we are innovating across the life cycle of our product, across the life cycle of plastic. For example, at the production phase, we are one of the largest users of renewable energy. When people talk about the renewable energy user, people think about Google or Apple, those high-tech companies. But actually, Dow is one of the top 10 users of renewable energy in the world. And we are the largest user of as a manufacturing company. And in Texas alone, we have a 300 megawatt wind farm. And this wind farm power one of our operations in Texas. And because this renewable energy, the plastic we produce in Texas carry 11% lower carbon footprint compared to industry average. And just about a month ago, we made a large announcement. We're partnering with a European company called UPM to turn tall oil, which is a bio-based material, into plastic. And this tall oil comes from paper manufacturing. So basically, we turn a renewable waste into plastic. And for the design part, we know plastic recycling is a challenge, and one of the reasons is multi-material structure. So we developed a new plastic resin we call the all-PE solution. So instead of multi-material laminates, we can convert this packaging into 100% polyethylene, which is fully recyclable. And another example, like recycling, again, when you mix different polymers together, they cannot be recycled. We developed a whole solution, we call it a compatibilizer solution, to compatibilize a different stream of plastic waste. And in a simple way to explain compatibilizer is if you have oil on your hand, you will wash it, right? But if you just wash your hand with water, the oil won't come off because oil and water, they don't compatible with each other. And this is the same thing when you mix polyethylene, polypropylene, or PET together. They don't compatible with each other, just like oil and water. And what do you do when you wash your hand? You use a soap. That's a surfactant. That make oil and water compatible with each other, and then the oil will come off your hand. So we basically develop a plastic soap, which can make a different polymer compatible with each other, just like oil and water. The last piece, market for recovered materials. We really want to incorporate the plastic waste back to our business model so that we can create a truly circular economy model. Just 1 week ago, we announced our first circular economy polymer, which is made from 70% post-consumer recycled content. This material will hit the market very soon, and the first application will be collision shrink film. So the last pillar, well, we have done a lot, but we know we cannot solve this problem alone. There's no single company or government that can solve this problem alone. We really need to partner with others. And that's why we partner with 40 other companies together to launch this Alliance to End Plastic Waste. I don't know if any of you have heard about this new CEO-led organization. So 41 companies committed $1.5 billion over the next 5 years to develop a solution at a scale, particularly in Southeast Asia and India, to solve this plastic waste issue. And there are 4 pillars. We want to improve infrastructure. We want to develop innovative solutions, and also create an education program, and also do proper cleanup. So the Alliance will develop a solution at a scale, but we also need a policy environment, as we discussed yesterday as well. That's why we partner with the World Economic Forum to launch this Global Plastic Action Partnership. And this group will work with individual government to develop a proper plastic waste management policy. The first Global Plastic Action Plan partnership was kicked off in Indonesia several months ago, and we also have a plan to launch a similar plan in Vietnam and other countries. So we have a policy, we have a company working on solution at a scale, but we still need the investment. That's why we partner with Circulate Capital, and we put together over $100 million to invest into entrepreneurs and also incubate the ideas. Whoever have a solution idea, but they need an investment to make their idea into a reality. And this is the Circular Capital's vision. We want to help those entrepreneurs to develop new solutions. And also, I just want to mention, which is not in the slide, I want to mention we also partner with MPMA Malaysia Plastic Manufacturers Association over the past many years to advance a plastic sustainability agenda in Malaysia. For example, we have a long-term program in Malacca to educate local students on plastic recycling, how to improve sustainability of plastic. And we grow the program from, I think, 3 schools this year to this year we have about 60 schools join the program. So we really appreciate the partnership. And I want to close with this slide. There is no time to waste. We have to take action, and we have to take action now. I understand there may be difference from different stakeholders, but I think we can find a common ground, and we can collaborate together. And we have to collaborate together to solve this problem. So with that, do we have a question? Yeah, this is a very good question, and this could also link to a very hot topic right now, the extended producer responsibility. And we believe extending the producer responsibility could be an effective way to address the issue and provide the necessary funding for country to establish a waste management system and also improve recycling. However, extending the producer responsibility, or you call it EPR, is not a silver bullet. You still need a lot of solution, and also in order to set up a proper EPR, you have to do a lot of work. For example, the EPR has to be flexible enough to allow innovation, allow company to find solutions. The EPR also need to be fair to everyone, so there shouldn't be no free rider, and also you need to be fair to all kinds of material, and the EPR also need to be transparent. And most importantly, this EPR has to solve the problem. The fee collected through this EPR scheme has to be used to improve waste management and also improve recycling. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Just one question. Okay.